I'm very pleased to have with us today Herbert Whitehouse. He is an attorney. He's an expert on the fiduciary role of government. He led the team at Johnson & Johnson, J&J, the large company that introduced the 401k to corporate America. You can tweet him at Herb Whitehouse, H-E-R-B Whitehouse, just like it sounds. And Mr. Whitehouse, welcome to the program.
Yes, Tom, thanks for calling.
Thanks for joining us. I understand you were involved back in 1981 with the introduction of 401ks. At that point in time, the conventional wisdom was that retirement was a combination of Social Security, of the pension that you got from your workplace, and then whatever equity you'd been able to accumulate throughout your life. Typically, for middle-class Americans, it was their home equity or retirement savings. And that was the kind of three-legged stool. Whence came the 401k?
Well, first of all, on that three-legged stool, that was very, very true for large companies. It might not be true for everybody,
Right.
but that was the large company pattern. And then I found the Revenue Act of 1978 as a manager of executive compensation at J&J, looking for deferred compensation provisions, and said this could be a benefit plan for everybody. And
in other words, this was a piece of legislation that was written basically to allow rich people to defer taxes until later years when they had lower incomes on income that they wanted to set aside,
or to regulate it.
Right.
It was there, but Congress was addressing that kind of deferred compensation and
Right.
didn't know that they had created what's now known as the 401k plan.
Huh. And so go ahead.
We had to talk to the IRS, convince them that it was true, and then I proposed it to the J&J board. And actually, the first comment that I got was from the Exxon member of the board, who said, "Impossible! It's not true. If it was, my tax counsel would have told me." So it was brand new.
Mm-hmm. And your idea was basically to allow this, to the accumulation of tax-deferred savings that wealthy people were enjoying, that the executives in major companies were enjoying, to be available to all working people in the country. It sounds like a noble thing. In retrospect, though, it seems not to have worked out so well. What happened?
Well, it worked very well for people who used it, and I think there's a couple of problems. One is that not enough people are using it when there is a plan,
Mm-hmm.
and the other thing is that there's a feeling that it works so well that 401k was the cause of companies abandoning this three-legged stool and moving from defined benefit plans all to the 401k defined contribution plan.
Right.
And so its own success is the reason that a lot of people have misgivings or wondering what's happened to this old pattern of a three-legged stool.
Yeah. I remember back in the 80s, there were people who were criticizing the Reagan administration for promoting, I thought they were called IRAs at the time, but 401ks, whatever it may be, criticizing these programs and saying this was the camel's nose under the tent, under the edge of the tent, in the direction of doing away with Social Security even. That it wouldn't just be companies doing away with pensions, that, eventually we would be saying to working people, if you didn't put money in your 401k, tough luck. And
Right.
And it seems like there's actually a constituency for that kind of thinking, that is represented by the Paul Ryans of the world.
Yeah, 401k became so successful that it was used as a model for replacing the unfunded liabilities of Social Security with a defined contribution plan. And I think there's some real problems with that, because you need you need a balance of this defined benefit and the defined contribution.
Right.
One problem is that only a third of our economy is represented in the capital markets, and if you had all the notational savings of Americans that goes into the Social Security system invested in stocks and bonds, it would really disrupt that capital market system.
Mm.
Just couldn't handle it.
So it would be a bad thing to privatize Social Security.
I think it would be. 401k is good, but it's not the model that should replace Social Security.
Right.
And the other reason is that a lot of individuals don't really know how to invest. And we've come a long ways in helping people, and that's a real positive on the 401k. But in my mind, the kinds of things that I do, say, as either when I was in the consulting world or I'm a general counsel, in-house counsel for ABC Fine Wine and Spirits here in Florida. And we have a program where we help people to decide what portfolios they want. And that works much better than having a government DMV office help you, in my opinion.
Yeah, or having nobody help you, which is what most people are kind of stuck with. And I read a statistic a while back that said that as somebody who started putting money into a 401k in their 20s, by the time they retired in their 60s, would have spent over $100,000 in fees to banks for managing those 401ks. There's a big parasitic piece to this, is there not?
I think there is, and I've heard people say we should have a national program because of the cost and the parasitic nature of investment advisors and brokers and mutual funds who are trying to get money. But we have a fiduciary system, and my response is if the fees are too high, the fiduciary should go to ERISA jail.
Yeah. Well, but the problem is that there's no law against it. I mean, the Democrats have proposed this numerous times, just in the past 5 years, to say investment advisors have to have a fiduciary responsibility. They have to either disclose to their clients when they are giving them advice that is not in the best interest of the client, but might be in the best interest of the advisor, or simply not do that. Only give them the best advice that they have. But right now, you can take your 401k money to an investment advisor and say, here, please invest this for me. And they can rip you off, basically. And there's no law to prevent that outside of just patent naked fraud, is there?
Well, there is ERISA, and ERISA has this fiduciary duty. But you're right.
But that's institutional.
Even the fiduciary committee is in a better position than an individual to deal with that kind of situation. But still, there are unsophisticated small companies who are setting up a 401k with all good intentions, and they may have somebody come to them and say, we'll be your advisor, but they're really not acting in the interest of the employees.
Yeah.
But I think it's not that hard, and fiduciaries need to know, the executives of the small companies who do this. Large companies know this, but at least most of them. They need to know that they've got to look around and find low-cost administration, low-cost funds. One of my pet peeves is that advisors and companies thought they could just set up a 401k plan, put in 10, 12. In the public sector, it might be 150 funds, and you say to the Joe Bolt, okay, figure out how to put together a portfolio.
Right. But hang on just a second here.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
I'm sorry we're out of time for the conversation. It's fascinating. Herbert Whitehouse, attorney, fiduciary government expert. You can tweet him at Herb, H-E-R-B, Whitehouse. Thank you, sir, for being with us today.
Okay, sure.